this is I'm super excited to dive into this with you, man, because I with the latest album, and you know how like the mountains of life come, this album has become like super very comforting and kind of personal to me in a way. Like with some of my own things going on in life, dude, I have found that like I go to this. I've been going to this album for the past couple months, just putting it in and it's really great, man. Like you fucking killed it. You killed it, man. And I know music is subjective. I know that it is you created what you loved. But man,
Absolutely.
for us who get to enjoy it, it was awesome.
I mean, man, thank you. I mean, I kind of almost get goosebumps. You tell me all this. I mean, because it's for me, music is also such a personal adventure. Really, I mean, to me, it's has never really been about the commercial side of stuff, being a rock star and all that stuff. Of course, that's cool, but for me, it's the whole starting point of this musical adventure has been a very extremely personal thing, really. Soul searching and basically, just wanting to make the music that I want to sound in my life, in a sense. This is kind of my soundtrack to my life. I mean, it might sound a little bit cheesy, but that is my basic idea behind all this, quite honestly. And I've never seen really myself as a entertainer or all that stuff. I'm more kind of doing craftsmanship when it comes to music, in a sense. I'm more the kind of guy that want to invite people into my music and enjoy this musical adventure ride or whatever it is, rather than just entertaining people. So yeah, means a lot to me to hear all this, because um, it's the way it's supposed meant to be, so to speak.
Yeah, it's I love that you said it's the like a soundtrack of your life. It's funny that you say that because when I started doing like music reviews and everything, and then we started venturing into like doing interviews and whatever, I don't follow the same formula that a lot of people do on YouTube, right? Like I don't care about subscriber count. I don't care about views. I love connecting with people. I love the human connection.
Mm,
I think about legacy a lot. I think about what we're
mm,
going to leave behind as humans. And I started this journey just because I was so closed off to different kinds of music. So I just wanted to go, you know what? I'm gonna go on this journey. I'm gonna like listen to a bunch of stuff that I've never heard or I kind of pushed off. And if people want to walk with me and come along, have at it. And it's become almost like the YouTube channel is more like a vlog of my life because people have told me to listen to a song that has ended up pouring some pulling something out of me that I never knew was in there. And it's really not like a typical, all right, guys, we're reacting to this. Like it's way more it's become kind of like a journey of my life. It's been really wild, dude. It's been cool, man. So I relate with that a lot with the soundtrack of life. You're creating what
Awesome, man. I mean, yeah, yeah. I mean, from the very start, I mean, we don't fit any kind of model, or we don't jump on the waves. All the. I've been doing this for 30 years now, and the things, trends have been going up and down, and all of a sudden, Viking metal is a big thing, and then the next year, the dirty black metal is the big thing, and all that stuff. And cool, I let nature unfold, so to speak. But when it comes to my own doing, it's I've always been very kind of had this almost like childish idea about my music being very kind of mirroring my life, in a sense. It should be real, it should be honest. I've never used corpse paint. I've never used any fake names or anything, because I had the idea from the very start that this is something I'm going to stand behind. no matter what happens in the future, you know. And also this idea about being close to the listener, being close and real in a sense, you know. I don't want to hide behind whatever that is, you know, the image, the corpse paint, all that stuff, you
Facades.
know. Yeah, facades in a sense, you know. To me, this is about being real towards life, you know, living life in the fullest. And also, you know, as you probably understand from from the lyrical contact of the content of the music, you know, this breaking loose from all this, whatever that is, dogmas or leashes or whatever holds you back in life, you know. I've always been like that. I've been privileged enough to have a very good upbringing, I would say, looking back, but also privileged enough to not have a religious, dogmatic upbringing. My father was deeply into, you know, the philosophy of deep ecology, for example, and stuff like that. And being able to, you know, this idea of free thinking has been very important for me. Not just as a mental exercise, but also as a way of living, a way of making my music. Um, I don't want to fit into any, you know, social group or social context or musical, you know, formula or whatever that is. I want to do my own thing in a sense, and um, I've been clinging on to that ideas, this almost childish ideas behind the band since forever. Basically, I've said no to big, you know, opportunities and big money and stuff like that because it doesn't feel real, you know. I
Mm.
want to cling on to this very basic foundation idea of the band, and I actually think that that is the reason why I still do this. Um, that I still have this spark of an excitement of new music, new albums, and move on in a sense, you know, because you can be sad about a lot of things in life, but I try to not get fed up about my life and my music in a sense. You know, I try to protect myself a little bit. Um, yeah, it's complicated, but you know, the essence is that, you know, uh, this free thinking spirit, breaking loose from all these chains and dogmas or whatever that is, and living life in the fullest of extent, so to speak. That's been, you know, that is kind of the philosophy behind the musical things that we do. I do. Yeah.
You know, no, it's not complicated because that makes sense to me because people in this day and age, and you've seen it, you've been doing this for 30 years. There is a time. There is a time for the theatrical. There is a time for the brightness, right? But we, as we have gotten older, we crave authenticity because we start to see beyond the mask that everybody wears. And you can tell when you talk to somebody, they are authentic. You can
Oh
feel
yeah.
it and you're drawn to that. I'm the same way. Like I would much rather talk to somebody who is raw and real than trying to put on something. So you creating music that first of all is music for you. That's at the forefront. That's the most important thing. And some people might be like, well, that's selfish. You're No, it's not because if I'm creating what I feel is in my soul, that will be the best translation to anybody who has an ear to hear it. People,
Absolutely, but you know, I don't live in a vacuum. I of course, you know, I'm not the most social guy around. I'm probably by all definitions a loner kind of thing, but more because I work a lot. I work a lot in my studio here, you know, making music,
Mhm.
producing music, and stuff like that. So, but of course, I don't live in a vacuum. People depends on me. People, you know, appreciate me. I hope at some point, my family and all that stuff. So, of course. In the same sense with my music, of course, the starting point is a kind of egoistic in a sense because, you know, I want to do the best of my abilities when it comes to music. I want to fulfill myself musically in a sense. You know, I want to, you know, yeah, I've said it so many times in the past, though, but climb another mountain to experience new musical horizon and all that stuff, using this adventure analogy. But I think that, of course, it starts as a kind of egoistic idea, but still it's very much of a kind of something I want to share. It's something that, as same as me as a person in life. I hope that some people appreciate who I am, what I do and stuff like that. And the same thing with music. Of course, I hope that people enjoy what I do musically speaking, and what I am musically speaking, and all that stuff, of course. But I think, in this kind of art, you have to have a starting point. You have to have this spark of why do I do this after all these years, after all these albums, and there is not really, economically speaking, I'm doing fine, but you don't get rich by doing this. That is not my motivation.
Hmm.
The economical side of it. It's not traveling. Of course, that's a motivation. I love traveling. I've been doing this my whole life with my parents back when I was a kid and stuff. But my real motivation is this. To me, it's almost like a drug. The day I kind of, or when I kind of come up with a new riff or a new song or a new theme or whatever that is, that just feels bigger than myself in a sense. There is something to this that I can't really put my finger to. That gives me a rush that nothing else do. I mean, maybe it's my dope in life, I don't know, but I just get this kick, and I can live on that. Just a single riff or a note or a transition or something like that just clicks in my head. I
Hmm.
can live on that stuff for weeks and weeks, mentally speaking. So it's a powerful stuff, and it's even more powerful when you kind of realize that all the stuff I'm doing here, all the blood, sweat, and tears I put into and sacrifices. Not to forget that, being a musician on this level, you have to sacrifice a lot, the social life and a lot of stuff. But when you get the album out there and realizing that people enjoy this stuff, and the magnitude of it, and the unifying you force it is really. I mean, I've been talking with people all over the planet now for a bunch of months, doing promotion for this album, doing bunches of interviews, online, and yeah, papers and all that stuff. So that makes the whole affair quite magic, I would say. Um, and it makes life very real in a sense.
You, yeah, wow. Yeah, man, you no, it's really profound because you can sense where this is all coming from with talking just in the first 10 minutes of with talking with you. You can sense, and you can hear it. You can hear it in the sound. And you have this formula of you staying true to yourself to the best of your abilities all these years has brought out that realness for people to appreciate and really listen because this is you in music form. This is the and people sense that. I sense that. There's a reason why, for me personally, this music speaks to me so greatly. There's it's just, if this wasn't authentic, it might not have felt that way.
Mm. Yeah, and also the part. I've always been very focused on this progression as life in general. I mean, I'm not the same guy as I was like when I was 20 years old doing the first album, and I pushed that into my music, and I said again and again in interviews that for me, I always want to take a step further musically. I want to progress. I want to broaden my musical horizon and all that, and climb another mountain and stuff. Slogans I've used for years now, but for me, it's this progression, if to define that to me, is not really about getting better at playing my guitar, or the technical side of stuff, or playing faster or playing whatnot. To me, it's progression is about finding myself to extract and kind of trying to, in a sense, get away all the shit kind of thing, to evolve into more kind of a extracted version of my, the musical core of this band. It's more about, you know getting away the haze and getting the focal point a little bit sharper in a sense. That to me is progression, in a true sense. Finding yourself, basically, if you talk about the human life. Finding yourself. And of course, when you grow older, you get a little bit more, I, at least for me, more laid back on things, on some things at least. You don't give a shit about the small things in life anymore. The bigger scope of life is more important. You're worrying about my kids and their education, and you get this. I don't know, and likewise, I want to bring kind of also that into my music in a sense. That you get a better version of yourself. You kind of um, extract yourself in a movie, because let's face it, in the early, when we are kids, when we are in the early teens and youth, um, we try to mirror a lot of stuff. We catch up on whatever the best friend likes of music. You tend to jump on the same bandwagon, in a sense. If people buy this or that car, you tend to, I want that kind of car as well. But growing older, at least with me, I kind of, all those things, I don't care about that stuff anymore. I do my own shit. I might find my own values in life. I find my own pleasures and artistic and others, in life and all that. Um, and of course, that's something I try also. This mentality I try to bring into my music as well.
Yeah. You I feel like if you're not being true to yourself, you're doing just a disservice to yourself, you know? Because like life is such a like we all are have gone through hardship, we've all gone through great moments and whatever, but
Mm,
I think the greatest joy that I'm discovering even in my life has been the joy of finding me, finding finding myself and allowing myself to be me, not for the
mm,
sake of anyone else. And
indeed.
there's something powerful about that. And when I feel like when you have that mindset and you're also a creative soul, it's powerful.
Yeah, and that's why I said, to me it has been a privilege in my life that I've not grown up in, for example, a religious home, and a
Mhm.
very open-minded, free thinker home. And to me, that, I mean, I couldn't imagine how it would be to live, grow, being brought up in an environment that you are kind of bound to rules, bound to way of thinking, bound to traditions, whatever that is. Some of it might be good, of course, if you find it yourself and stuff like that. And I don't mind people believing whatever they want to believe, but I think that by default, people should be free to, become the fullest extension of themselves, in a sense. I think that, to me, that has always been such an important virtue in life. So yeah, yeah, that's why I kind of say that, to me, I feel like a privilege not being delayed or held back by all that kind of stuff from my when I was a young, my family, and the context of my life, in a sense. To be free, in a sense, that has always been very, very important to me, and of course, something I want to shine through in my music, in a sense.
Dude, I love it, man. Yeah, it's I was the opposite. I grew up in a very religious home, and it was
You go.
yeah, that's been a process to work through, you know what I mean? When you're kind of told like this, you got left or right. This way is wrong, this way is right. You have to go this way. And so working through
Yeah,
that,
absolutely. And I understand why things are like they are sometimes. Have poor societies, you have different societies and different traditions, and we have a long history behind us. And I don't want to there was a lot of good stuff as well. But I think that to be able to kind of just riddle this off, to be able to find yourself and all this, I think that is such an important thing. And I try it with my own kids, to give them I will support them whatever they do in life, whether it's come to
Mhm.
education, if they want to do that or this, and they apparently don't want to do music, and I'm fine with that. But it's for me to kind of, what can I say, make sure that they have a safe place to come back home. They always feel safe in a sense. I will always support them, but I leave the choice up to them in a sense. And it's not really about religion or traditions or anything like that. But to me, it's maybe, when I boil it down, it's a little bit about the mindset of things. If you lock in on mindsets, I think that, for example, I don't really care about what people believe when it comes to religion, but I think religious thinking is dangerous as fuck. I mean, that is even more dangerous than the nuclear weapons we have on this planet, I would say. Um, I don't doesn't really matter what kind of God or not God or anything like that. But if you look into kind of these closed, narrow-minded, but ideas, that is really dangerous. So yeah, yeah, a lot could be said, of course, but on this,
Yeah,
but yeah.
yeah, you're right.
I'm just touching the surface here, but I try to explain a little bit of the musical backbone of the band, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'm the same way. I could get to talking about this for hours. I am the same way. Hey, so
So,
how did you come up with the word Borknagar? That's a made
oh,
up name, right?
oh yeah, yeah, it's a fantasy name basically. It's again, back to my basic philosophies behind the band. I wanted to make my own musical bubble in a sense. I wanted to avoid any musical tags or whatnot. So even back then, I had this idea. I wanted a band name which doesn't reflect or represent anything but the music, if that makes any sense. Um, and of course, back then, I was a young kid. I was like 17 or 18, I think, back in '94 when I started, '93 actually, when I started to think about this musical adventure I wanted to do. And my for my childhood, I was always very quite inspired by a Swedish fairy tale called Ronja Rövardotter, which is, I think it's actually on Netflix these days. It's a new version. It's a very kind of 24 version or something. But that was a huge, when I was a kid in Norway, it was a huge kind of a story. You learned it at school, and there was also made a movie back in the day in the 80s, I think. But that story just has been lingering with me all the time because it's basically about from the Middle Ages. There is a good king and a bad king living in a castle, and the castle is kind of divided by a lightning. And the daughter of the good king, which is Ronja, she was like, what some of the part of becoming an adult was that she was supposed to live in the forest for, I don't know, let's say 1 month or a year or something like that. She had to survive by her own and stuff like that. And of course, this was a forest in fairy tales with orcs and trolls and stuff like that. So it was kind of, and the son of this evil king on the other side of the castle, his name was Bork, basically. Um, so that was kind of the first half of the name. And then a second fairy tale, it's a Scottish fairy tale, I think it was, which also had a huge impact on me back when I was a kid. Um, was kind of the man. I think it's called the Man of the Mountain or something, but it's about a man basically walking over a huge mountain, and that mountain is called Loch Nagar. So I kind of combined those two kind of half names, so to speak, of my favorite childhood stories, quite basically, and yeah, went from there.
That's
Um,
brilliant. I
Maybe a little bit childish. It was, but it's the way it is. So that kind of became the name and the why, the reason why the name is like it is.
I don't think that's childish at all, man. I think that's awesome because, dude, those things, those stories have helped shape you. Like,
Mm.
let's have an example. Let's be real about this. What if you never heard those stories? Where
Oh
would
yeah, I
you be?
think so.
It's powerful.
It is. Life would be different to me, to be quite honest. And especially Ronja Røverdatter is still my favorite story in this world, I think. It's such a, because partly because I feel home there, you know. It's because that is pretty much how I lived my life when I was a kid. I was never going to any kindergarten. I had to go to school at some point when I was 7 years old. But before that, I was living on the countryside, and you know, me and my friends, the only thing was doing basically was being in the woods, being in the forest, being on the mountain, you know, climbing trees, you know, with our knives and boots and climbing and you're building huts and whatnot. You know, I lived my, yeah, 6, 7 first years in nature. And also my father was a mountaineer in a sense. I mean, not by really climbing, but he loved, you know, go on the mountain peaks and stuff like that. And we have one of the biggest mountains in the Bergen area just behind. I have our own trail to the mountain here behind the studio. And you know, when I grew older, we you know, me and my father went to this mountain. And I, since I was small, I always learned to, you know, appreciate the natural world, you know, being in the nature, and seeing all the details, all the, you know, animals and insects, even, you know, and all that stuff.
Hmm.
Has always, that has shaped me so heavily, and I kind of feel home there, you know. And when everything is kind of shaking around me and I feel stressed myself or whatnot, I just go behind my studio into the forest and sometimes to the mountain. It's a long trip though, but I find, you know, so much peace and quiet and you know, all that stuff, but also energy in the same time. And maybe that is the beauty of nature to me as a person, that I find, you know, the solace, but I also find the energy, the fighting spirit in a sense. If you go to this mountain top, which is called the Gold Mountain in Norwegian, though, um, it's like 1,000 meters. It's not that high, really, but it's the highest peak in the Bergen area. You know, you feel so powerful, of course, because you have to sweat your way up because it's steep. It's really steep, and you feel like you're totally drenched when getting there, but you feel powerful. And when you arrive there, you feel, you know, the beauty of this. You can see everywhere. You know, I can almost see to England actually, over the seas, almost. But in the same time, you have this duality. It's also very dangerous. You know, the weather can shift in a matter of seconds, and I've been done that many times myself. You know, being on the top of the mountain, just sitting there for hours, listening to the rumbling mountain, to the wind, to the birds, and everything, just feeling quiet at peace with yourself and with the nature. But all of a sudden, the weather change, and all of a sudden, you find yourself in a potential deadly situation. I have been on a mountain. I have to just crawl on you know, my legs and you know, I can't stand up because it's too windy, for example. And if the wind toss you over the cliff, you're dead. Every year there is like 3 or 4 people dying there because it's so kind of, um, it can kind of, yeah, it teases you to come to the mountain because of the beautiful weather, but then it changes in a second and you are in danger. So there is a couple of people that have burned themselves, so to speak, doing that. I kind of love that duality of feeling so mighty on the mountaintop, but also feeling so small. You know, when you feel the forces of nature. So it's kind of my sweet and sour in life in a sense.
Hmm. Speaking of that, man, you were describing just just all the different views of nature, all the things that you grew up to love and everything.
Mm,
That's the one thing that I picked up on this new album.
mm,
You've always had it, but I when I put in this album and I start listening to it,
mm,
it didn't feel so a lot of music when you're listening to an album, it can kind of feel like you're in a tunnel. You start here and you end there.
Mm,
I feel like when I listen to this, everything is open and vast. There is so many textures and layers, and I feel like, yes, I hear guitar, yes, I hear the melodies, I hear the drums, but I feel like I can see the mountains. I can see the trees. This is weird. And I haven't
mm,
really met too many people that have this same kind of thing, but I'm a visual listener. So
mm.
when I listen to music, it will paint a picture for me. So sometimes I can hear a melody and I hear it, but I see it.
Yeah.
It will do something. I'll see something. And when I was started listening to this album, I'm listening to this and I'm going, I haven't heard anything quite this open and robust with layers and textures. How you were able to capture that in this album.
Yeah, brother, I feel at home when you say so because I've also had myself as a music listener, as a fan. I've always had a very, what can I say, visual relationship to music. What you're saying is, completely, there is a diagnosis called synesthesia or something like that, and
Hmm.
that is just check it, Google it, and it's a diagnosis where the brain, in some sense, envision music, sounds. There is big, the convention about people gathering up because they have this diagnosis and stuff like that. I firmly believe that I probably have it. I haven't been to a doctor, talking about this, but
Yeah.
I've always had this very visual aspect of music. When I listen to Pink Floyd, which is my favorite band in this world, I get a lot of shapes and colors, and even sometimes smells. It kind of just explodes in my head in a sense, not just when it comes to the sound, but also visually and all that stuff. So kind of I feel familiar there. When that being said, musically speaking, yes, that is what I want to achieve. I want my music to feel like a hike to the mountain or a walk through the forest or something like that. This to me, this perfect human imperfection of nature, the sounds, the openness, all the details. And I have a route, I have a path behind my studio up to the mountain. And each and every time I go there, something is different. You see something new. There is a different bird. There is a different, different weather, different climate. Now it's springtime and sunny and stuff like that. A couple of months ago, it was wintry and snow, but it's still the same path, Um,
Hmm.
and kind of that kind of diversity, that kind of imperfection of nature, in a sense, this symphony of nature, that is a notion that I always been striving to get into my music. So when producing these albums this time around, I spent shitloads of time, of course, finding the guitar sounds and drum sounds and all that. And of course, Jens Bogren in Sweden do the finishing mixing, and which was brilliant, of course.
Hmm.
However, I spent a lot of time, trying to find the flavor and sound of things. I spent a lot of time just walking in the nature, recording some sounds from nature and just adding into the fold a little bit of whether it's like dripping water or a little stream I have through the garden or something like that, or just the wind kind of cuddling the leaves on the trees, for example. Mountain groaning and stuff like that. Mountains have a sound, at least here in Norway. If you sit on a mountaintop and listen, because you have the steep valleys and stuff like that, there is a deep rumbling that is, to me, very enchanting. And I've used a little bit of those samples as well, to bring in that kind of nerve to it somehow. So yes, indeed. I spent shitless of time on this, hours and hours, just trying to get this kind of feeling. And in a sense, it's non-musical. I mean, it's not about the riffs, it's not about the drum pattern, it's not about the screaming vocals and stuff. But it's trying to get this to glue together to become yeah, almost like a musical trip to the forest in a sense. That has been my goal forever, basically. And I think we succeed pretty damn good on this new album, I would say. And of course, it has something to do with the writing of the songs, the way I do the riffs and the way we arrange the songs. But it's also how you get put everything together, and in a more kind of sublime way, how you, what can I say? Yeah, mold all this up in a sense, to extract this kind of this feeling of nature. But that's very true. I really try to kind of that's my goal with this album and the albums before that to grip onto the listener, bring them into this musical adventure, and hopefully they will kind of experience a little bit the same thing as I do, maybe on a different, we have all different backgrounds and different references and all that stuff. But if they get a little bit of the same kind of feeling that I do when listening to or making the music or kind of into my creative bubble, I'm a happy boy. That's my mission with music. It's not about being, it's not about the money, all that stuff. To me, it's yeah, it's cool. It's let's go touring. It's cool and meet fans and all that. But and being able to travel, of course, it's a huge privilege, of course, and earning money on music and all that. It is a great thing, of course, and I feel privileged about it. But for me, it's when all come to all, it's all about this musical adventure. It is really, and I'm gonna keep doing that as long as I can, physically and mentally. But of course, the day I start repeating myself, I would just quit doing it, no matter how much people or how much money people will offer or anything like that. Then my mission would be kind of complete. So I try to, I still try to work out this perfect song, this perfect riff, and all that stuff. And I haven't reached it yet, so I still need to make couple more albums, I guess.
You do. Oh my God. If the it's oh, I did want to ask you this. All right. I know that just connecting with you and hearing how intense and how intentional it is every song that you write. But do you have a favorite song off this album? Or one that maybe is more personal? What's the most personal one?
That's an easy question, actually. That's a Wild Lingers. To me, it's a very personal song. It's the second last song on the album, which is a
Hmm.
very, to me, that is culmination of everything on this album, I would say, in a sense. I don't know if people, listen to it the same way as I do, but for me, it's kind of that is um, kind of the culmination of the album in a sense, I would say. It's very personal, lyrically and otherwise, and it's extremely me in a sense, lyrically and musically, and I just love that song. And I actually already told my wife that the day you're gonna bury me, that's the song you're gonna play. So yeah, she's okay with that, I guess. Hopefully. Uh, so that's a more personal side of it. When it comes to the all-time favorite on this album, all included, from a more kind of when I lift my view a little bit and open the horizon a little bit, maybe, I find the last song, the Northward song, also quite interesting. It's quite, I'm pretty damn happy with that song because it's so massive. To me, it sounds like a mountain. It's really it's a journey from the bottom of the mountain to the top of the mountain with all the, ups and downs and all the curly, difficulties and stripes of life, the beauty of life, and all that. It kind of holds everything in a sense. So those two songs is kind of the Wild Lingerers is the kind of the more small, intimate song maybe that is very kind of boiled down in a sense, extracted in a sense maybe. Whilst Northward is this all tits out, the whole thing going on in a sense. So I think those two songs contrast in a very beautiful way, and that is also very important point for me. The whole thing about contrasts. I mean, life that is life. Rainy days, sunny days, bad times, good times, and the same notion I want to bring into my music. To have this all these human facets of life, if you get my point. We all
Hmm.
have difficult times, we all have good times. Um, and that is also this dynamic of life. A human life is something I also want to bring into music, the drama of life in a sense. That's also something I really wanted to bring into my music. Um, to me, that's the best music. Quite simple. I mean, that is. I mean, these days, 2024, there is so much. I mean, I love it. I mean, there are so many good bands, so many good musicians around. But at times, maybe I'm old fart now, but at times I feel a bit. The whole music scene is a little bit generic. It's a bit too kind of spread out and too compressed and too everything is too perfect in a sense. And to me, that doesn't really hit the ultimate beauty in a sense, because the ultimate beauty you find in the perfect imperfection of human beings, the perfect imperfections of the nature. I mean, that is to me, the X factor. That is what the spice of life, what makes it, yeah, makes the lives interesting and all that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, especially with creating music, they want to reach a level of professionalism that
Mm,
they can miss out on the charm of the the simplicity or the little bump in the road that they could add, you know.
Yeah, quite frankly, and I've been doing this for so many years now. I have a high-end studio and I work with my own music and with other music. And sometimes the really good stuff in a mix or in a song is the wrong stuff. It's the wrong. It's sometimes it's you place a lead or something in the wrong timing or out of sync or something. But it just, wow, this is cool because it kind of tickles my hearing, listening, my brain in a sense. And I think from producer perspective, I think that's also very important in music, that you have these elements that pokes out and draws the attention, to wake up your mind. We know that from scientific studies that a human brain is capable to listen to a song for, or focus on listening to a song for 2-3 minutes, something like that. That's why very often the big hits, it's like 3 minutes something, because we know that people want the big masses, don't sit down and listen to a song for 9 minutes. But my since I do music that is 10 minutes and 9 minutes and 8 minutes and rarely below, I've always had this idea that we have to have something in the music that tickles your brain, the listener's
Hmm.
brain in a sense. It wakes you up a little bit, that make you focus again. And what was that going on? Was there a bird flying by? What's going on? That kind of drama. But that, back again, that is life also, that happens when I sit out bathing in the sun or something, drinking my coffee. All of a sudden there is a, bird flying by and like, whoa, what was that kind of thing? You know,
Hmm.
these things of life is also something that I think it's at least to me interesting to bring into music as well.
Yeah. I'm the same. So I love progressive. I love like long songs. I
Mm,
I'm big on it. So, and that was the one thing with fall. I've gotten to where like if I'm putting in an album sometimes and like say I'm driving into work and I'm checking out a new album, it's good, but sometimes my mind will start to wander and I'll be
mm,
like, wait, what did I just hear? What, you
mm,
know what I mean?
mm,
And that was not the case with fall
mm,
because of your progression
mm,
and the way the songs were crafted and the way they flowed. It
mm,
was very much like a river. It was very much, oh, here comes a turn, like get ready.
mm.
And
Yeah.
it kept you drawn in. When I've had so many people ask me, what have you been listening to? What's been, and I'm like, you got to hear this fucking album. You have to listen to this. I've sent it to so many people. Listen to this. Like, I don't care what you're listening to, listen to this. So it's
Dude.
you've captured that, man. You've really captured that. I did want to ask though, because one song we did a review of the Nordic anthem, and that was huge, especially on my in my community.
Mm.
That song resonates so deeply. And when I told some of my people that I'm talking with Øystein, they were like, "You got to tell him to go in depth on the Nordic anthem. What is the depths of that song?"
It's I would say it's quite simple. Again,
Hmm.
simple, but oh so complicated. It is
Hmm.
this human complexity. But to me, I mean, it's Lars written the lyrics for that one. So probably might have got a little bit different answer to this. But me and Lars have been working together for so many years, and we're on the same page and all that. So, but to me, that song is really fundamentally about breaking the chains to everything, really, to free yourself. It is about against all kinds of leashes, against all kinds of chains. Again, what we start about, it's kind of very kind of ethereal in that sense. I would say it's about not bowing your neck. Not you should be proud of yourself. You should find your own meaning in life and all that stuff. It's I would say it's universal. It's I mean, we drape it in a Nordic flavor, so to speak, because
Hmm.
it's about honesty. Let's face it. I mean, that is our background. That is where we come from, in a sense. That's what I've grown up with folk music, for example. So I've used to fiddles and
Hmm.
this kind of rhythmic things going on. And Einar from Vardrune, just living on the other side of the fjord there, or used to live there. So we grew up together and all that. So it's to me, to us, that was kind of raising the flag of being yourself, releasing yourself, fulfilling yourself, and breaking all kinds of chains that might hold you back, in a sense. For some people, that might be of religious matters.
Hmm.
For others, that might be career. For other, for any, whatever that is. And I think it's a kind of very etherical song on this album, because the whole album has a bit of the same flow. It's Summits, the first song on the album, has a
Hmm.
little bit of pain, just a little bit angle to it, but it's that song is about finding your own peak in life, whatever that is. Whether that is a career opportunity, or whether that is music, or whether that is education or whatnot. It's find your own peak where you feel this is you know my kind of, yeah, best potential, or something like that.
Yeah, your own path.
Um, yeah, so those two songs also, I think, contrast, because they have a bit of the same thematics in basically, but they kind of approach this in a little bit of an opposite way, if you get my point, I would say.
Hmm.
And Nordic Anthem is more kind of a what can I say? It's a more a chant. It's more kind of a I don't find the right words for it, really, but it's kind of almost like an activist song, in a sense. Like, I mean, this is kind of find
It's
your
an
own
it's an
truth.
anthem.
Yeah, you said it.
It's an anthem.
It is. Yeah, it is. Maybe that's the right word for it. Yeah, you got me there.
It is something, it's something that people can grasp to, and because it does, you left it open to where people
Yeah,
could provide their own interpretation.
yeah, and that is the whole point with it, and it should be universal, and it should be as valuable for me and Norwegians as it should be for females in Iran, being
Yes.
forced to wear all kinds of updressing and stuff, and all kind of traditions going on and religions going on there. That it should be a spark for them as well. To leave themselves whatever they are, you know, chained up to, and that's all really. I mean, it's also complicated, but also quite simple, I would say. I mean, we
Hmm.
we humans, we tend to make life very complicated, and it is sometimes. But sometimes it's also some stuff in life should be very easy, in my opinion. And freedom is one of them. The freedom to become whoever you are, and make the best of yourself and all that. That should be the most simple rule in this world, in my opinion. But we all know that it's not that easy. We have different regimes, we have different religion doctrines going on, and dictators and whatnot going on. So it's a fight. It's still a struggle, and I guess that's a little bit with this point with this song to give people that whatever they struggle with something to feed on, maybe.
It's there's something like really profound with with being true to yourself and following that path that you feel your heart is leading you, like what you've been on for these past 30 years. Because you being true to yourself and you following that voice inside and really staying true to that has had a profound effect on the world around you. Because if you didn't follow what you felt in your heart you were supposed to follow, we
Mm.
might not be sitting here talking about this. And
That's true, and sometimes I've been doing this for so many years now, and I actually 1994 I started. I got the first logo draft, I remember, and everything. So it's in a way it's 30 years now with this band. And sometimes people ask me, how do you, think back, how you regard your career and all that? Because let's face it, I'm pushing 50 now, and I can't do this forever. We all die at some point. I still intend to do it for a long time, though.
mhm.
But it comes in an age and time, I guess, that you start to. I guess most of our lives is behind me, and so you start to kind of think about stuff in hindsight and all that stuff, and I must say that it has been such an let's as an example, we did what was it, Mexico Metal Fest in Mexico a half a year ago
Mhm.
or something, and it was rainy and it was cold. Actually, we didn't expect that at all. So we even Norwegians like us was freezing down there. I was entering the stage and there was like the thundering going on with our intro also thundering and the whole atmosphere, and just I was standing on stage there playing for all this. I don't know how many people, maybe 200,000. A huge festival at least, maybe not that much, but I sometimes that happen. I just get this notion that I can't stop doing this. There is so many people that find enjoyment, and what we do, the music we do, and everything. It's such a treasure. Um, and and now in my age, I think that's the thing that really sticks out to be. It's just crazy, kind of satisfying feeling that you can kind of offer all this to all the people. Maybe it makes the world a little bit of a better place, maybe a little bit better sounding place, maybe, and all that stuff. It's such an awesome feeling, to be honest. It's so to me it's again, and that's all what this is about, to be honest. To have this kind of musical adventure, and to bring people into it, and seeing all the people that like the music and tells the story when we meet them, and whatnot. It's insane. It's really cool in yeah, it's a kind of over bigger than life kind of feeling in a sense, and I'm really humble about that, and of course you feel satisfied all that. It's pretty insane, quite simply. It is in a good way, in a good way.
Mhm. Yeah. I cannot I can't stop singing like the praises of your journey and what you've done with everything, man. And the the sounds and the melodies that you were able to craft and most importantly, you taking us on this journey to see you find yourself, because you said that this is like a soundtrack of your life, this career. You've allowed us to come in and walk with you as you have gone in this journey to create music that is very personal to you. And I think when people can have that understanding, when an artist says, I'm opening the door, you can come on in and check this out. That's a deeply personal thing and a very it's I admire that, and you deserve just all the love and appreciation that you have gotten throughout your life, and also too with the success of fall, like, and I mean, you knocked it out of the park, man. You guys killed it, killed it. And you really crafted something really incredible. And I am super excited for what you're going to do next. When are you coming to America?
Oh yeah, we don't know yet, but we hope to. We have our team working on some plans for next year, 25. We
Good.
quite roughly we're gonna fill up 24 in Europe, I guess. With we have a bunch of festivals going, and we have a European tour coming. It will be announced, I think, next week or something. Huge tour in Europe with a quite huge band as well. It'll be fun. So we are pretty busy this year in Europe, but next year we are, at least our intentions are to kind of cover USA, North America, and also hopefully South America, Latin America, and maybe beyond, like Japan, Australia, maybe.
Yeah.
But that will be 25, I think, as far as I know. But it's, for European bands to play in US, it's a quite heavy lift, when it comes to, yeah, we need, yeah, working visas and traveling expenses and stuff. I just read a article online a few hours ago that, the working visas for musicians in the US have doubled or tripled or something like that. That's another, obstacle, I guess. But at least our intentions are clear. We are
hmm
hoping to do US and yeah, world tour basically in 25.
I think with COVID, people were so cooped up that now they are soaking up all the shows, all the
Yeah.
concerts. It's been insane this year. It's been absolutely insane.
Yeah, and it's beautiful to see it. The live scene comes back, and we was doing USA very shortly after the COVID was like all the restrictions was gone and stuff. We traveled to US and did a tour with Rotten Christ
Yep.
back in, I don't remember a year. I
It's like two,
22
3 years
maybe,
ago.
22.
Yeah.
Yeah, 22 I think it was. That was a fantastic tour with the guys, and it was almost like being locked in for a 2 years and being able to go walk out in the wild again. For me it was such an the release to be able to
Yeah.
play again and tour with friends and bands and all that, and so we really hope to go back to the US, of course. For us, always since the very beginning. I mean, we did a US tour already back in '99, actually, with Emperor. So for us, the when it comes to touring, US have always been our kind of holy grail in a sense, because I don't know, it seems like we always have a very good time in the US. So yeah, I really hope that we are able to get back and do a proper tour in the US next year. I really hope.
Øystein, I just want to thank you for just taking time out of your day and being able to spend these little bit of moments with you. Um, you've had a profound effect, man, not just on me, but a lot of us. And I'm just grateful to be able to talk to you and have this moment. So thank you, man, so much for just hanging out.
Yeah, thank you so much as well. I have to admit, I don't see everything on when it comes to reviews and YouTube reviews and stuff like that. But actually, my wife saw your video a while back. I think it was like Summits or something like that. She
Yeah.
goes, "Yeah, you have to see this one because yeah, he really digs it." I think it was some of the first reviews I saw. And yeah, so I really wanted to do this because I think you have, as you said, as you described, you have a really cool approach on this. You have this human side of it. It's not just about the gimmick and all the visuals and all that stuff. It's really about this human side of music, and that's something I appreciate and support. Of course, I was looking forward to do this one.